Welcome back to the Hostel Pandemic mini-series. Jimmy Black here with the Hostel Road Trip Podcast. Again, joined with me, Bobby Dyer from ITH Hostels.
Hello, everyone.
And Jim Kennett from the Pacific Northwest Hostel, correct?
Northwest Portland Hostel.
Oh, Northwest Portland. I'm sorry. I keep on that. Northwest Portland. And
we are in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
So.
Northwest Portland. And you are an HI affiliate?
Yes, we are.
HI affiliate. Oh, and thank you so much, Jim, for joining us as unprecedented times in our industry, and everyone's really shooken up by it. But you're, as we commonly joke about with Darren Overby and a few other guys that have been in the industry for a long time, we look at you as like the Hostel Jedi Knights. So it's good to hear from you in these times. And how long have you been in the industry?
41 years.
41 years. So in that vast amount of experience, have you had anything of an experience close to this at all?
I don't think anything comes close to this. I was thinking back, and we've had the various viruses, SARS, Zika, bird flu, but they never shut us down. They just gave us kind of a scare.
Yeah.
September 11th, 911 was probably the closest. Again, we didn't shut down.
Yeah.
But most hostels, I know on the West Coast, most hostels were down 25%.
Yeah. But yeah, really just...
Right now we're down 95%.
Yeah. So it really is overwhelming in a lot of ways. And it's tough to, even as you go through people that have been in the industry far longer and have seen it all, that is kind of sometimes a little bit overwhelming when the people that have seen it all have no comparison whatsoever in this situation. Now, you've got 2 locations in Portland? Is that right?
We have just one, but we have 6 buildings on the same block. That's
on the same block?
Yeah.
Because you just built a suit. I actually went and stayed at that location, which was really cool.
Oh.
A very rare thing in the U.S. that someone actually built to suit the design and make it a hostel. Mm-hmm. So that was a really cool experience to see that building, especially after all the experience you've had, to see how you could build it with that in mind.
Right.
But with that, you have a bar and a restaurant, cafe-style operation.
Right.
Very common in Europe or South America, Australia, all the other continents. A lot of hostel owners will look at you like you're crazy if you don't have a bar. You're one of the few that has actually been able to overcome the restrictions, zoning, permits, all these things to actually do it. Mm-hmm. But in this situation of the pandemic, how is that duality working out for you?
Well, it's shut down right now. It's working out good in that we have 12 beers on tap. So I've got plenty to drink. And, also a kombucha on tap. So when I need to shut down, I'm good there.
Yeah.
We had to, just backing up a little bit, traveling the world and staying in hostels. That's the one thing that we noticed that we were lacking. All the great hostels had some kind of a bar or a pub or restaurant. Sure. And so, when we were able to expand and build a new building, that was a key thing for the vibe of the hostel. And it's worked out great. We have long hours. We kind of start out as a restaurant at 7 a.m. and then by the time we close at 1 a.m, we've become more of a pub.
Yeah.
Live music and local beers on tap and all that. But yeah, once this came on so fast, as we all know, spring break was upon us, and we would have had 240 guests a night, and lots of people coming for conferences, travelers, groups galore. Within 3 days, the phone was ringing. The cancellations were just, that was the time that, everybody, I think, was freaking out. And then, we just had to lay off. I mean, we had to jump into action mode, and we had to lay off all of our employees. And basically, Britta, my wife, and I, we brought on one half-time employee. Are just running the whole thing. The cafe is shut we brought all of our employees in to get their last paychecks, and we put out all the perishables and said, take what you need, bring growlers,
Fill up your beers
on tap. So, and we still have plenty of that, but, so, I mean, from there, it's the advantage of the cafe, though, is it's very popular in our neighborhood. It's open to the public, and it's become the common room to the neighborhood, to come in and meet people from around the world. People tell us all the time, wow, I feel like I'm back in the trip I took, 10 years ago. Or when we have music nights, they walk in and go, I feel like I just walked into an Irish pub, So, so once we open the doors, everybody here in Portland has been so cooped up, and I think all over the country, all over the world, that we're gonna really boom with the cafe. So probably not gonna make up for the slow restart of the hostel, but at least we'll have that going for us.
That is a nice element to it, though, that you've got a little variety in your cash flow and in your demographics, so that you're not relying fully on the international traveler to come back through. Where that neighborhood bar where people are cooped up in the neighborhood, I could see you getting a boost from that right away. So that's a nice feature to it.
Yeah. Although the hostel has always been the cash cow that's allowed us to create all this.
Yeah. So it does create for some uncertain future maneuvers. Now, we talked briefly before we got on the episode here. One of the hot topics is SBA loans. And some of these are grants that are forgiven and things like that. And they have the triple paycheck program there, triple P program. They have the other disaster relief program. But as we've talked to a lot of people, hostel owners that run a very, off the grid. I've got work exchange people. I'm the owner. I run it myself. Very little on paper. And in this moment, you can apply. A lot of them don't qualify for these things. So what has your experience been thus far with that SBA opportunity?
Well, I don't know. 10 years ago, we dropped the big banks. We just didn't want to be associated with Bank of America and all. It turns out those are the banks that got the loans for their. So here we are with our small regional bank who has 1,000 applicants to process, and they tried their damnedest, and and they called us, a week ago and said, we're really sorry, but we just couldn't get your application in, and we were pretty disappointed. And then 2 days later, they called us and said, we're so confused here. You actually got the loan. Your application did get in. And, the thing is, we applied for our three companies: the Hostel Cafe, the Northwest Portland Hostel, and then we're doing a hostel, a seasonal hostel up on Mount Hood called Zigzag Mountain Farm.
Oh, cool!
We applied with that as well. That's 50 acres and yurts, and
I didn't know that. Oh,
this was going to be May 1st. Was going to be kind of our grand opening.
Oh, so this is a new expansion.
Yeah.
In yurts.
We did we opened up, kind of a soft opening, and didn't really push it out as a hostel, but this year, we are.
Oh, that's great. Not to jump off sidetrack, but I heard you say yurts. I live in a yurt up in Big Bear Mountain, and we got it from Pacific Yurts. That's for us.
Two of our yurts are Pacific Yurts.
Oh, yeah. So do you know about Colorado Yurt Company too?
Yep.
Oh, cool. So it's going to be a farm, 50 acres with all different yurts and whatnot.
Yeah. So we have 8 yurts. We're just doing our first tiny house project, and cabin and a big ranch house, which is kind of our farm central. Where
nice.
I bought a city bus and converted it to a camper's kitchen. So
that's awesome.
Hostel kitchen.
Oh, man. We got to come up for the podcast and do an episode up there.
Yeah, you do, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of bringing me back to my roots.
I can see your style.
So.
They can't take it out of you, Jim Kennett. They can't take it out. You're like a fine wine. That's one of Bobby's dreams, is to have a farm hostel one day. So we'll have to go up there and get some guidance from you.
You know, the interesting thing was after the big real estate bust in 2008, you know, we were looking for 5 acres, like a cabin just for Britta and I.
Yeah.
You know, we came across this 50-acre property with the cabin and a sprawling ranch house for, it had been on the market for like twice what we paid for it. And being repossessed, and, you know, so, you know, I mean, times like this, there's positive things that come out of it, you know.
Opportunities.
Opportunities, and that's kind of how you know, with the whole thing. We were in panic mode for 3 or 4 days, but you know, we've been through so much, and both Britta and I are pretty resilient. You know, both of us. I come from a pretty poor family, never had much money to begin with. It's kind of like, okay, I gotta, you know, this thing's not going to beat us, you know. So we, you know, we just jumped into. We started a GoFundMe for our laid off employees. You know, that's about, I think it's pushing about $6,000 right now.
Right.
Given out to laid off staff to help with their rent. You know, we did a big campaign. We reached out to all of our followers, from hostel travelers to local musicians that play at our cafe, and, you know, just all the different followers we have on a, you know, buy gift certificates, good for lodging or good for food at the cafe. And we're over $10,000 in selling gift certificates. So people
that's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But back to the SBA thing.
Yeah.
So we got the loan.
For all 3 places?
No, we got it for just for the hostel.
Okay.
The other 2 didn't make it in, but we did get a big tip from our bank and said, we heard that PayPal was processing loans for anybody that has a PayPal account.
Yeah.
And they've been really successful and really speedy. And so we had all the applications, everything filled out. So we immediately sent into PayPal. Within 2 hours, they responded, we received your applications, and they're trying to get them into the next round for the cafe and for Zigzag.
Oh, good. That's good tips there for the listeners there.
Hostels that didn't get in.
Yeah. There still are other options, and it was great to see they came out that second round of funding.
Yeah.
We were in a similar situation with multiple hostels, and we applied for each entity. Some got approved, some didn't. But wow, that was a roller coaster ride of a week while you were waiting to see.
Yeah.
A lot of drinking.
Okay, one more beer.
Just clicking refresh on my SBA account.
That's right. Well, now the challenge, you know, with that PPP loan is, you know, you're supposed to go up to full staffing, you know, by the end of June.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. None of us are going to need to go to full staffing. We're not going to be at full capacity. So we're really hoping, we know that like the National Lodging Association that we're a member of has strong lobbying, and they're really pushing to get that date extended for another 2 months. Hoping that happens, because for us to spend $137,000 on payroll in 2 months is
very challenging. Yeah.
Challenging. Yeah.
That's an interesting conundrum.
Cool part of if you can meet that goal, then it becomes a grant. Or if you can meet, I think it's 75% of it.
Exactly.
It's a grant. So we're looking at creative ways of being able to spend that. I know my salary is going up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the interesting thing. And why we wanted to highlight, not only if you get approved, but if you do get approved, how to manage this correctly. Because if you mismanage it, you could go from having a forgivable grant to all of a sudden having a loan that's saddling you for, you know, so many years. I get fearful that also hostel owners getting that large injection of money all at once, you could make some mistakes that could follow you for a long time.
Yeah.
If you're not prudent.
Here's a tip from a banker that I know from hosteling in the past. he was working for Bank of America, and he's still there. And his number one job right now is processing these loans.
Yeah.
I talked to him on the phone, and his advice was, if you get the loan, accept it, put the money in the bank, and don't spend it, because in 2 years you're going to have to pay it back. So unless you think you can meet those guidelines, accept it, but put it in the bank, and then kind of go from there.
That, and Bobby and I were having the same conversation last night. It can be overwhelming to look in the account, but what we did is we're like, all right, well, we're going to take most of this and we're going to put it in the credit union account that we never look at.
Yeah, right.
And forget it's there, and hopefully we don't need it. And then if we can make it through this time, then maybe that could be used for other investments or other things or capital. But what would be the biggest mistake is to get a little bit confident or a little bit big for your britches and spend it. And then this thing goes on for longer than expected. And now you're caught worse than before.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think that's a very good point. Now, Bob, you had some questions you wanted to ask Jim about his upcoming conference and trade association.
Tell us more about what you got going on.
Yeah, so a small group of us got together after last time I met you guys was, I think, 2 years ago in Charleston.
Yeah.
A conference there that Vicky puts on.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of us, spun off from that and just started talking about starting some kind of an organization. And then we looked into it. One of our guys is an attorney, and kind of did some research, and we came up with the thought that a trade association is the best thing for us, because it's an organization that's open to all in the industry. So all hostels, there's not going to be something where we're inspecting hostels or anything like that. It's kind of like, if you want to join this group of hostel operators and benefit from everything we can do with the power of many, then that you'll be able to join, and keeping dues, really reasonable. We're talking about large hostels over 100 beds being just $50 a year, and smaller hostels being $25.
That's reasonable.
And then as a benefit, you could actually take that $50 and apply it toward your registration for the annual conference as well as a member.
That's interesting. We were talking to Joe Gill from North Carolina, and he was, we were on the topic of international flights are going to be, limited for the near future. So how important it is for, getting Americans to travel and do hostels. And, if everybody comes together and, creating an advertising campaign for U.S. hostel travel,
right?
And if everybody puts a few bucks together, you can have a large campaign to, target at younger travelers to travel within America. So it's great.
One of our key organizers, in a small group of us now that are working in the trade association, is Sydney from the 11th Avenue Hostel in Denver.
Right.
And she has a marketing degree, and she's young, and she's really pretty hip with, with social media and all. And, so it's, we put all of our expertise together. Darren is on our board of advisors. He was the first one to say yes.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing. We're going to be eventually, we've got all the paperwork to file with the federal government for the 501c6. The
501c6. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And, we're going to put out an email blast to all the hostels to, even though times are tough, join. And if you can pay the dues now, great. We need some funds for these and everything. If you can't pay, join anyway and pay it by the end of the year. So that's kind of a campaign that we'll be doing, within the next week or so.
Well, that's exciting and encouraging. I think that people need to count IGH hostels will be on board. But I think this is exciting. And then in conjunction with this, tell us more about the conference. Where's the next one going to be?
So the conference will be our big sort of signature thing. It was supposed to be this next fall, but we decided with everybody focusing on the virus and all, we're going to push it to 2021.
Okay.
could end up being in the spring, so it might just get delayed for 6 months.
Nice.
But we haven't set a date yet. But the first one will be in Portland, Oregon.
Nice. I love Portland.
Yeah, I have a conference center that's donating the space just
Great.
in the hostel. So, it'll be a good one. We want to kick off with a good conference that people will come back to.
Nice.
And then we'll rotate from hostel to hostel. Who wants to host it next? Denver's in line for the second one.
I want to go see Sydney's hostel too. That's on my bucket list as well because she's such a sharp gal. I can't wait to see what she's done.
Massive renovation.
Yeah.
It'll be exciting to see that. But, once we get the paperwork filed, then our organizing group, that steering committee, will become the board of directors.
Nice.
That'll be the governing body. We'll keep that to 6 or 8 people, and then we'll have a board of advisors, which we've already started forming.
Nice.
That'll be people who, have a lot of expertise. Maybe they don't have the time to be at meetings all the time, but they'll put their name out as somebody with recognition, and if we have questions or whatever their expertise is, we can reach out to them.
Nice.
It'd be great to have one of you guys on that board of advisors.
Oh, we'd be happy to. If it's TV, use Bobby. If it's voice, use me.
Right.
Now, but with the 501c6, does that trade association cover any of the work exchange elements of being like a nonprofit, allowing the work exchange to be more legitimized, or is that not covered in a trade association, really?
We haven't really looked into that, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, that's something we're still trying to figure out on our end to make that more clean.
Yeah, because there's definitely some issues with work exchange.
Yeah, because the 501c3 with like an HI, they get covered fine, but that designation of 501c3 is impossible to get. So I'm all those 501cs, I'm very fascinated by them. But
you can read into the C's.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The power of just, if we can get 100 or even 200 hostels, this is, Canada, Mexico, and the US. And we can start negotiating with credit card companies for better rates, for OTAs, hostel.
Yes.
Imagine if 200 of us went to Hostel World and said, hey, how about an 8%,
Yeah, they would shit their pants.
We're all, we can do a boycott,
Exactly. Power
of insurance.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's many avenues that, if we all unite and then just networking together, that's so important. And then being the trade association, it's not like we're not competing, like the conference that Vicky does, we would promote that conference. There's a conference that happens in the Midwest, I
saw that one, Detroit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of just promoting all those opportunities out there and the international conferences and, getting a group of us to go and,
Yeah, there's so many new hostels popping up. We were at the Vicky's conference this last couple months ago, and there was probably 30 new people that were, getting ready to get their hostel set up or open or, narrowing down a city. So it's great to see all the, new interest and whatnot. And definitely gathering everybody with an association will be a great resource and support and just grow the whole industry in general.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've always been a person that, has had the interest in helping others. And I've had many people, contact me that are ready to open a hostel, or some that are just dreaming about it. And, just, it's fun to work with them. It kind of brings me back to my early days.
Yeah, it was really inspiring to hear. We spent a lot of time with Frankie from Bunk and Brew at a couple of conferences ago. And it was so cool to hear how much you helped those guys and were like a mentor to them through that process. A great example of like two young guys that want to make it happen. And there's very limited options out there of people like yourself or Vicky or Darren Overby from hostelmanagement.com that have this experience that can open the doors up or give you the pat in the back when you need the little extra help, and encouragement to get through the tough times. Yeah. So I think it's awesome that you are part of this trade association and hosting this next conference because it's really pivotal that people like you and Darren and Vicky are on the forefront of these things that can help keep us younger entrepreneurs in line and in check.
Oh, yeah, how it's done. No, how we used to do it.
Yeah.
But Frankie's on our steering committee, and so is Jay from Bunker.
Yeah. Great guys.
Jay's the attorney that's been doing all this.
Yeah, So that's awesome. And we're excited to go up there and check their guys' place out. So this is all really encouraging news for the industry at a time where I think people need something to look forward to and to be excited about. In that trade association, the power of numbers, like you said, so many things from insurances to OTAs to buying in bulk to all different things, lobbying efforts. They all become so much more tangible and realizable when you have those strengths and numbers and a budget to push together. So
for sure. And then there's going to be so many of us to mentor new hostels and make them, have a better chance to succeed.
Energize this industry. I love it. Well,
one thing I always offer when people are almost ready to open a hostel, I always say, well, the best way to learn is to come job shadow at my hostel, come. And Frankie and Jay did that for a month because they both lived in Portland. So, for 5 days a week, they would come for a few hours here and there and behind the front desk. And
that's a great tip for people that we meet a lot of people that want to make a hostel and they've never worked at one, which is just great to think about, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So good to go. Yeah, shadow somebody. You can learn so much.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great opportunity for listeners out there. If I were doing it, I would make that call to Jim Kennett because you can save yourself a lot of heartache and stress and troubles by learning from the experience of others. And then a lot of people, I think, might even find that maybe it's not exactly what they thought it might be, or maybe they're not as fired up for it as they thought they might, especially if they haven't worked in one before, like Bob said. But great info there, Jim, and inspiring information about this trade association, the conference. We're super excited, and I'm inspired to see that you're battening down the hatches and holding on and getting through it with your lady there and making sure you come out on the other side. I'm really excited to hear about this farm project you got going on, and we're definitely putting that on our agenda. I was going to say, let's do the podcast at your Portland hostel, but I think we should do it up there now inside of a yurt.
That's right. Sure. Or by the wood-fired hot tub.
Yeah.
What's the name of it again?
We have a wood-fired hot tub.
Oh, beautiful.
It's on the edge of a year-round creek.
What's the name of the new place you're opening?
It's Zigzag Mountain Farm.
Zigzag Mountain Farm. That's beautiful. All right. Well, Jim Kennett up in Portland, thank you for your time and your wisdom, and we will be staying tuned for this trade association and count IGH hostels in, and just let Bobby and I know if we can help in any way in that area. We're on board.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good one, Jim. Stay safe.
Jim. You have
all right. Bye.